The cold wind blew across the empty planet as Dr. Emma Ross walked through the broken city. Her boots made soft sounds on the strange blue stones that covered the ground. Above her, 2 red suns hung in the purple sky like angry eyes. This was the 4th dead world she had visited this year. The 4th world where an entire race had simply vanished, leaving behind only empty buildings and mysterious warnings carved into stone. Captain Ben Harris watched her from beside their small ship. His gray hair moved in the alien wind as he checked his weapon for the 10th time that morning. 30 years of space travel had taught him to be careful, but this place made him feel different, wrong. What does it say this time? He called out. Emma knelt beside a tall black tower in the center of the ruined city. Her translation machine hummed and clicked as it worked to understand the alien writing. The symbols were different from the last 3 worlds, but something about them felt familiar. "Give me a minute," she said, her voice tight with worry. Behind them, young pilot Alex Chen climbed out of the ship. His face was pale as he looked around at the dead buildings. "This place gives me bad dreams, Captain. Even awake, it feels like something is watching us." Emma's machine beeped 3 times. The sound meant it had finished working. She looked at the screen and felt her blood turn cold. "Oh no," she whispered. "What is it?" Captain Harris asked, walking closer. Emma stood up slowly, her hands shaking as she held the machine. "It's the same message, Ben, word for word, exactly the same as the other 3 worlds." The translation appeared in the air above the machine, glowing letters that made all 3 humans step back. "Beyond the 3rd world lives a race that stands guard. They do not know what they protect, but if they fail, the thing that ate us will wake. Pray they never learn the truth." Alex's face went white. "The 3rd world, that's Earth, isn't it? We're the 3rd planet from our sun." Captain Harris felt something cold move through his chest. "How many dead worlds have we found with this message now?" For Emma said quietly. "For different races, separated by thousands of years and millions of miles, all destroyed by something they call the hunger, and all of them left warnings. About us the wind picked up, making the empty buildings moan like ghosts." Emma walked to another tower and ran her machine over more symbols. The same message appeared again, carved into the stone by desperate hands. "These people were advanced," she said, pointing at the smooth walls and perfect angles of the buildings. "They had technology we can only dream about, but something killed them all. Something so terrible that with their last breath they tried to warn the galaxy about what Earth is protecting." Alex sat down hard on a broken piece of stone. "But we're not protecting anything. Earth is just Earth. We would know if something dangerous was hiding in our solar system, would we?" Emma asked. "Look at this." She pointed to another line of text her machine had translated. "It says we don't know what we're guarding. Maybe that's the point. Maybe our not knowing is what keeps it safe." Captain Harris looked up at the red suns and felt afraid in a way he had never experienced before. If 4 different worlds left the same warning, how many others might there be? How many dead races tried to tell us something before they died? Emma packed up her machine with shaking hands. "I think we need to go home, Ben. We need to tell Earth Command what we've found." "What exactly have we found?" Alex asked, his voice small. Emma looked back at the dead city one more time. "We've found out that humanity might not be alone in the space because we're lucky. We might be alone because we're guards and we don't even know what we're guarding against." As they walked back to their ship, none of them noticed the way the shadows seemed to follow them. None of them saw how the empty windows of the dead buildings seemed to watch their every step. But deep in space, far from any star or planet, something old and patient felt their discovery. It had been waiting for so long, hiding in the dark, between worlds. And now, finally, the guards were starting to ask questions. The first step toward learning the truth had been taken, and with each question the humans asked, each piece of the puzzle they found, the thing that had destroyed for civilizations grew a little stronger. Back on their ship, Emma sent a message to Earth Command. She told them about the warnings and the dead worlds and the terrible message that appeared again and again. She asked for more teams to search more worlds, to find more clues. She did not know that asking questions was exactly what the thing in the dark had been waiting for. She did not know that every answer they found would feed it, make it stronger, bring it closer to freedom. As their ship lifted off from the dead world, the ancient warnings carved in stone seemed to glow faintly in the alien sunset. The message was always the same, left by race after race as they faced their doom. They guard something worse, but what they guarded, and whether humanity would survive the knowledge of their true purpose, remained hidden in the cold dark between the stars. Waiting, watching, growing stronger with each question asked and each answer found. Emma stared out the window as the dead world fell away below them. She did not know that she had just taken the first step in a chain of events that would decide the fate of not just humanity, but every living thing in the galaxy. The guards were waking up, and somewhere in the darkness, their prisoner was very, very pleased. 2 months had passed since Dr. Emma Ross sent her report to Earth Command. Now she sat in a cold meeting room high above Earth, surrounded by the most powerful people in human space. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the distant sound of ships moving outside the station. Director Kate Williams stood at the front of the room, her face serious as she looked at the big screen showing pictures of dead worlds. Each world had the same message carved into stone, the same warning about Earth. "We have confirmed it," Director Williams said to the 20 people sitting around the long table. 7 exploration teams have found the same warning on different planets, all dead, all destroyed by something they called the Hunger, and all of them left messages about us. General Mike Santos, head of Earth's space military, leaned forward in his chair. "But our sensors show nothing strange in our solar system. No hidden ships, no strange energy, nothing that says we are protecting something dangerous." Emma appeared on a screen from her research ship near Jupiter. She looked tired, like she had not slept in days. "That is what makes this so scary. General, the warnings say we do not know what we are guarding. The dead races wrote that we protect something, while being blind to what it is." Admiral Lisa Park, who controlled all of Earth's space defenses, brought up pictures of their weapons and ships. "We have put more guards around our entire solar system. Every ship, every station, every weapon we have is watching for threats. If something is hiding out there, we will find it, will we?" Dr. James Cole asked from his office on the moon. He was the man who could read alien languages, and he had spent weeks studying the warnings. The races that left these messages had weapons that could destroy planets. They had shields that could bend space itself, but something called a hunger ate their entire civilizations in less than 1 year. Director Williams stopped walking and looked out the window at Earth spinning slowly below them. Which brings us to the real question. If these alien races were so powerful, how did they all die from the same enemy? And why do they all think that humanity is the only thing stopping it? Emma's face on the screen looked worried as she read from her notes. "I have been studying the way the aliens wrote their warnings. There is something else we have not talked about. The messages do not just say we guard something dangerous. They say that our not knowing about it is important to keeping it sleeping." The room became very quiet. Outside the windows, Earth looked peaceful and safe, not knowing that its people might be the last defense against something that had eaten entire star empires. Commander Bob Turner, who ran supply ships to the outer planets, spoke up quietly. "My crews have been reporting strange things on their trips to the edge of our solar system. Bad dreams during sleep, dreams about voices in the dark, about something huge and patient waiting between the planets." Director Williams felt fear grow in his stomach like ice. "Put all ship crews on medical watch. Begin deep scans of every large rock and planet in the outer solar system. If we are guarding something, we need to know what it is before." She did not finish speaking. Everyone in the room knew what had happened to the races that came before them. The question was whether humans would be protectors or just the next victims of whatever lived in the darkness beyond their world. Dr. Cole's voice came through the speakers, shaky with fear. "I have found something else in the alien writings. They mentioned that the thing they feared was old when the universe was young, something that was locked away between the stars by powers we cannot understand." Emma added from her ship, "The patterns in the warnings are all the same across different worlds. Whatever destroyed these civilizations, it follows the same path every time. First, the Guardians discover they are Guardians. Then they try to find what they are guarding. Then they all die." General Santos finished. Admiral Park looked at her defense screens, showing the positions of human ships throughout the solar system. "How long did it take? From discovery to destruction?" Dr. Cole checked his research. According to the alien records, most civilizations had about 3 months from the time they learned about their role until complete destruction. Director Williams counted in her head. "How long ago did we first find these warnings?" Emma's face went pale on the screen. 8 weeks ago." The meeting room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. If the pattern held true, humanity had about 4 weeks before whatever killed 7 civilizations would come for them too. "There is more," Emma continued, her voice barely loud enough to hear. "The warnings suggest that learning about our role as guardians is exactly what the enemy wants. Our growing knowledge of the threat seems to make it stronger somehow." Dr. Cole added, "The alien texts describe it as something that feeds on awareness itself. The more a species knows about it, the more power it gains over reality." Commander Turner's voice was quiet when he spoke. "My crews on the outer runs are reporting that the dreams are getting stronger. Some of them say they can see things moving in empty space, shadows where no shadows should be." General Santos stood up, his face hard with determination. "Then we stop looking. We pull back all ships from the outer system and forget about this threat." "It might be too late for that," Emma said from her ship. "If the pattern is correct, once a species discovers their role as guardians, the countdown begins, whether they keep looking or not." Director Williams looked around the room at faces filled with fear and worry. "So what do we do? Every civilization before us failed. What makes us think we can succeed where they could not?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Outside the station, Earth continued its peaceful rotation, unaware that its children had just learned. They were standing guard over something that had devoured worlds in the cold darkness beyond the outer planets. Something ancient stirred. It had felt the change. The moment when the Guardians began to understand their purpose, just as it had felt the same awakening in 7 other civilizations. The hunger was patient. It had waited so long already, but now the Guardians were learning, and with each piece of knowledge they gained, each question they asked, it grew stronger. Soon, very soon, it would be time to feed again. The research station Guardian floated in the cold darkness far beyond Pluto, where space seemed empty but was not. Dr. Tom Mitchell looked at his computer screen for the 100th time that day, watching numbers that should not exist. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he could not stop staring at the strange readings. Earth Control, this is Guardian Station. He spoke into his radio, trying to keep his voice calm. The space distortions in our sector are getting stronger. Whatever is out here, it is becoming more active. Far away on Earth, Director Kate Williams heard his message in the emergency command room that had become her home. Around her, screens showed reports from all over the solar system, all telling the same frightening story. Dr. Mitchell, how is your crew doing? She asked, watching the health monitors that showed his team was under great stress. Our bodies are fine, Mitchell replied, but his pause told a different story. But our minds are not. Engineer Frank Davis says he hears something calling to him when he sleeps. Scientist Lucy Wang sees patterns in the stars that are not really there, and I keep having dreams about standing guard at a door that must never be opened. Captain Lisa Park joined the conversation from the Defense Command Center. Dr. Mitchell, we are seeing strange energy readings near your station. Are your safety systems still working? That is the problem, Captain. We do not know what we are supposed to be keeping safe from. The space distortions show something huge is out here, but our machines cannot get a clear picture. It is like whatever is here exists partly outside normal space. Dr. James Cole's voice came through from the moon base where he had been studying the alien warnings day and night. I have learned something new from the old writings. The dead aliens wrote about something called the First Hunger, an ancient force that exists in the empty spaces between reality. They said it feeds on thoughts and minds, growing stronger with each person it touches. Emma's voice joined them. From her research ship in the asteroid belt, James is right. I have found the same creature mentioned in ruins on 3 different worlds. They describe it as something that was old when the universe was young, something that was locked between the stars by powers we cannot understand. Director Williams felt the weight of 7 dead civilizations pressing on her shoulders. Dr. Mitchell, I want you to start leaving procedures. Bring your team back to Director, Mitchell interrupted, his voice strangely calm. I do not think we can leave. When Davis tried to get into the escape pod yesterday, he could not make himself go inside. It is like something is forcing us to stay here, to keep watching. We are not just scientists studying something strange. We are gods, and we cannot leave our post. The silence that followed was filled only with the sound of machines and the distant whisper of solar wind against the station walls. In that moment, everyone listening understood a terrible truth. Humanity had not discovered they were guardians. They had always been guardians, shaped by forces beyond their understanding to stand watch over something that must never wake up. The dreams are getting stronger, Mitchell added quietly. Sometimes I find myself walking to the observation window, pulled to look out at the space where nothing should be, and I swear I can see something looking back, something huge and patient and very, very hungry. As the conversation ended, Director Williams stared at the display showing all the research stations throughout the outer solar system. Each one had crews that could not leave, standing guard over areas of space that looked empty but were not. Humanity's spread into the solar system had not been exploration, it had been putting guards around a cosmic prison they never knew existed. Engineer Davis floated through Guardian Station like a man in a dream. His eyes were wide and strange as he stared out the windows at empty space. But to him, the space was not empty at all. Frank, Dr. Mitchell called to him. Come away from the window. Davis turned slowly, his face pale and sweating. Do you see them, Tom? The walls made of light and shadow. They are cracking. Something is pushing against them from the other side. Scientist Wang joined them, her notebook full of drawings that made no sense. Geometric shapes that hurt to look at. Patterns that seemed to move on the page. I have been charting the distortions, she said in a voice that sounded far away. They are not random. They follow a pattern, like something is testing the strength of invisible barriers. Mitchell felt cold fear move through his body. What kind of barriers? Prison walls, Wang replied, her eyes reflecting light that was not there. We are not guarding empty space, Tom. We are guarding a jail cell the size of a solar system, and the prisoner is waking up. Back on Earth, the reports kept coming in. Station after station reported the same things, crews that could not leave, strange dreams, and the growing sense that something vast was stirring in the darkness between planets. Dr. Cole worked frantically to translate more alien writings, desperate to find some clue about how to stop what was coming. The pattern is always the same, he reported to Director Williams. First the Guardians learn their purpose. Then they try to understand what they are guarding. Then the prisoner begins to influence them directly. How long do we have? Williams asked, though she feared the answer. According to the alien records, once direct influence begins. There are usually 72 hours before complete manifestation. Emma's voice crackled with interference from her ship. I am detecting massive energy buildups throughout the outer system. Whatever is out there, it is preparing for something big. On Guardian Station, Engineer Davis pressed his face against the observation window, his breath fogging the glass. It knows, we know, he whispered. It has been waiting so long for us to understand what we are. And now that we do, it can finally come home. Dr. Mitchell tried to pull Davis away from the window, but the engineer was stronger than he looked. His eyes reflected something that was not quite light as he stared into space. The walls are breaking. Tom, can you hear it? The sound of cosmic stone cracking. Our prison is about to become our tomb, just like all the others before us. In the command centers on Earth and throughout human space, alarms began to sound. The readings from the outer system showed energy levels that should not be possible. Distortions in space itself that grew stronger by the hour. The thing that had destroyed 7 civilizations was stirring at last, fed by humanity's growing awareness of their true purpose. The gods had learned what they were guarding, and in learning they had begun the final countdown to their own destruction. The first sign that everything had changed came from Station Horizon, floating at the very edge of human space where the sun's light became weak and cold. Communications Officer Nina Blake was checking routine messages when every screen in the station went black for exactly 20 seconds. When the lights came back on, words appeared on every display in letters that seemed to burn. The gods grow tired. Earth Control, this is Horizon Station. Blake spoke into her radio, her voice steady even though ice was forming in her heart. We have a big problem out here. The thing in space is talking directly to our computers. Director Kate Williams, who had not slept properly in days, activated emergency alerts across all outer system stations. All stations, report your status now. We are seeing strange energy readings on every deep space sensor. Dr. Tom Mitchell's voice came through from Guardian Station, but something was very wrong. His usual careful way of speaking had changed to something dreamy and distant. The shape of space is changing out here. Director, the angles between stars are shifting, and the darkness between them is getting thicker. Engineer Davis is standing at the window, and he says he can see the prison walls becoming real. From Station Watchtower near the frozen rocks of the outer system, Dr. Sarah Kim reported similar things. My crew is having the same visions now. We see huge structures made of frozen space-time, and something moving inside them. The walls that hold it are getting cracks. Dr. James Cole's voice from the moonbase carried desperate urgency. I have finished translating the final alien records. The prison was not just physical, it existed in the spaces between dimensions. But the creature learns to adapt to its cage, finding ways to influence reality through the minds of its guards. The more we know about it, the stronger its control becomes. Emma's voice joined the emergency meeting from her research ship. The ruins on another dead world had a warning we missed before. When the Guardians learn what they guard, the prison starts to fail. Our growing knowledge of the creature is actually making the cage weaker. Then we stop learning, Captain Lisa Park said from the Defense Command Center. We bring everyone back from the outer stations and stay away. It is too late for that, Mitchell replied, his voice now carrying sounds that human voices should not make. We can see it now, Director. The first hunger is not imprisoned between the stars, it is imprisoned between the spaces of reality itself, and our solar system is not just where we happen to grow up. We were put here, shaped by its influence over millions of years to serve as living anchors for its prison. Director Williams felt reality bending around her as she understood what this meant. She was saying humanity itself is part of the prison system. We are the lock, Mitchell confirmed. Our thoughts, our awareness, our very existence serves as a living seal keeping it trapped between dimensions. But now that we know what we are, the seal is breaking. The creature has been feeding on our growing knowledge, using our minds to reshape the walls that hold it. From Station Horizon, Blake's voice carried new terror. Director, the energy distortions are getting faster. The crew reports that the stars are going out one by one, but not because they are dying, they are being eaten. The darkness between them is spreading. Emma's transmission was full of static interference. The alien records show this same pattern on every dead world. Once the Guardians learned their purpose, they had exactly 72 hours before the creature achieved full freedom. How long ago did we first discover the warnings? Williams asked, though she already feared the answer. Dr. Cole's response confirmed her worst fears. 70 hours ago, Director. We have less than 2 hours before whatever destroyed 7 civilizations breaks free into our reality. On Guardian Station, Engineer Davis no longer looked human. His eyes glowed with light that came from somewhere else, and his skin seemed to shift and change as if something was moving underneath it. He pressed both hands against the observation window and laughed with a sound like breaking glass. It is so beautiful, he whispered to Dr. Mitchell. Can you see it, Tom? The first hunger is not a monster. It is a gardener. It comes to harvest worlds when they are ripe with consciousness. We have been growing like fruit on a tree, and now it is time for the picking. Mitchell tried to stay away from Davis, but found his feet moving toward the window against his will. "Fight it, Frank. You are still human. We are all still human." Human. Davis turned his glowing eyes on Mitchell. "We were never human, Tom. We were seeds planted by the hunger long ago, designed to grow into the perfect guardians. And now that we know our purpose, we can finally become what we were meant to be." At Station Watchtower, Dr. Kim watched her crew members change one by one. Their eyes began to glow. Their voices took on harmonics that hurt to hear, and they moved with a strange grace that was not quite natural. "Director," she radioed to Earth, her voice shaking. "The transformation is accelerating. My people are becoming something else. They say they can feel the creature's thoughts in their minds, and it is teaching them things about the universe that no human should know." Communications Officer Blake at Horizon Station found herself walking to the observation deck without meaning to. Her feet moved on their own, as something else controlled her body. Through the window, she could see space itself bending and twisting like heated metal. "The walls between dimensions are dissolving," she reported in a voice that was partly her own and partly something else. "The creature is using our bodies as doorways. Each station crew is becoming a gateway for it to enter our reality." Emma's ship detected massive energy buildups throughout the outer system. "The readings are off every scale we have. Whatever is happening out there, it is reshaping the fundamental structure of space itself." Director Williams watched helplessly as station after station reported the same thing: crews transforming into something inhuman, reality bending around them, and the growing presence of something vast and ancient making itself known. "All remaining ships, evacuate the outer system immediately," she ordered. But even as she spoke, she knew it was too late. The thing that called itself the First Hunger had waited billions of years for this moment. It had planted the seeds of humanity in the distant past, nurtured their growth and guided their expansion into space. Also that when the time was right, they would serve as the perfect vessels for its return to the physical universe. The guards had learned what they were guarding, just as it had planned. And now, with less than 2 hours remaining, the ancient prisoner was finally coming home. In the final 30 minutes before the end, something happened that no one expected. The strange energy readings that had been building across the solar system suddenly stopped growing, not because the creature had given up, but because humanity had made a choice that none of the 7 dead civilizations had ever considered. Director Kate Williams stood in the emergency command center, looking at screens showing every outer station crew member who had volunteered for what they were calling the human protocol. Instead of running from their cosmic duty or fighting against their role as guardians, they had chosen to accept it completely. "All stations confirm you are ready for the final link," she announced, her voice carrying across space to the brave people who had volunteered to become something more than human. Dr. Tom Mitchell's voice came through from Guardian Station, clearer now than it had been in hours. "We understand what we must do, Director. The creature feeds on knowledge and awareness, but it has never faced something it did not expect. Willing guardians who choose their duty instead of stumbling into it by accident." From Station Horizon, Nina Blake added, "The civilizations before us all failed because they tried to fight the creature or run away from it, but we are going to do something different. We are going to become the prison ourselves." Dr. Sarah Kim, from Watchtower Station, explained the science behind their plan. "By connecting our minds through the quantum communication system, we can create a stable network of consciousness that actively makes the dimensional barriers stronger. Instead of the creature using our awareness to weaken its prison, we will use our combined will to make it stronger." Emma's voice from her research ship carried wonder despite the terrible situation. "The aliens left one final message we only found today. Translated, it says, should guardians arise who choose their duty with full knowledge and willing hearts, the hunger may finally know defeat instead of merely delay." Dr. James Cole's voice joined from the moon base. "The consciousness link is beginning to work. The energy distortions are going backward, and the dimensional walls are becoming solid permanent structures. The creature is actually moving deeper into the spaces between realities." But the cost was becoming clear. The volunteers at the outer stations were changing, their consciousness growing beyond normal human awareness to become living parts of a cosmic prison system. They would survive, but they would never again be completely human. Director Mitchell's voice now carried sounds that should not have been possible for human vocal cords. "We can feel it happening. Our minds are linking not just with each other, but with the basic structure of space-time itself. We are becoming something new, living guardians who can maintain this prison for millions of years." Captain Lisa Park watched the transformation from the defense grid. "Health readings show the volunteers are reaching states of consciousness we have never recorded. Their brain activity is syncing with quantum energy across the entire solar system." "And it is working," Emma reported with amazement. "The creature's influence is collapsing back into the spaces between dimensions. The prison is not just being fixed, it is being changed into something permanent. The First Hunger will never again be able to influence reality through its guardian's awareness." Engineer Frank Davis, his body glowing with inner light, spoke from Guardian Station. "We can see everything now. Director, past, present, and future. The creature made one mistake in its billions of years of existence. It assumed that consciousness could only be controlled through ignorance or fear. It never imagined a species that would choose sacrifice with full knowledge of the cost. Dr. Kim's voice joined the growing chorus of transformed humans. The 7 dead civilizations left warnings about Earth because they saw our potential in their final moments, not just to serve as unknowing guardians, but to become the first species capable of choosing to imprison the creature forever. Director Williams watched as the volunteers completed their change. The outer stations now served as connection points in a consciousness network that covered the solar system, maintained by individuals who had chosen to go beyond humanity to protect it. They would stand eternal watch, no longer vulnerable to the creature's influence because they had willingly become something greater than it could corrupt. Blake's final transmission came through the quantum link, her voice now speaking for all. The transformed guardians. Humanity is safe. Director, the galaxy is safe. We have become something the first hunger never expected. Conscious, willing jailers who chose duty over personal survival. Tell Earth that the long watch has begun, and we will maintain it gladly. The creature, ancient and terrible, found itself facing something it had never encountered in billions of years of existence. Instead of minds weakened by fear or broken by knowledge, it faced a network of consciousness that had chosen to become its prison. The humans had not just learned they were guardians, they had embraced the role completely, for the first time since the birth of the universe. The first hunger felt something it had never experienced before: defeat. The dimensional barriers that had once been weak locks maintained by ignorance had become unbreakable chains forged by willing sacrifice. Emma monitored the final readings from her ship. The energy signatures are stabilizing at levels that suggest permanent containment. The creature is not just imprisoned, it is cut off from our reality completely. Dr. Cole added from the moon. The quantum barriers are self-sustaining now. The transformed guardians have become living components of space-time itself. They will maintain the prison for as long as the universe exists. Director Williams looked up at the stars with new understanding. The outer stations still showed on her screens, but they were no longer just human outposts. They had become something unprecedented in galactic history, eternal lighthouses manned by beings who had chosen to transcend their species to protect it. The warnings left by dead civilizations would never again apply to Earth. Humanity had broken the cycle that had destroyed 7 advanced species. They had discovered they were guardians, learned what they guarded, and instead of falling to the knowledge, had used it to forge the strongest prison the universe had ever known. In the cold darkness beyond the outer planets, the transformed guardians maintained their watch. They were no longer entirely human, but they were still entirely devoted to humanity's survival. They had become something the first hunger could never corrupt, never influence, and never escape. The long watch had begun, and for the first time in cosmic history, the universe was truly safe from the thing that dwelt between realities. The guards had learned their purpose and chosen to fulfill it, transforming from unknowing protectors into willing eternal sentinels. Earth continued its peaceful rotation, protected by children who had grown beyond childhood to become something magnificent and terrible and absolutely necessary. The warnings carved in stone on dead worlds had finally been answered, not with fear or flight, but with the greatest courage of all, the willingness to sacrifice everything to save everything else.